Okay, so today's class, we're going to talk about the adrenal stress response. And if 2020 doesn't cause agreement on anything else, I think it's going to cause the agreement that it's been an extremely stressful year so far. So I thought this was an appropriate theme for this month's Herbal Hour. And I hope that it brings you some insight as well as some ideas on how you can lessen your stress. So the adrenal response is basically the hypothalamus giving a response to the pituitary, which gives a response to the adrenals, which sends out cortisol. When cortisol is high, you can see it affects the blood sugar, the immune response, blood pressure, and the nervous system. So I'm Mary Bourne. I'm a traditional naturopath. I love sharing natural remedies with people, and you can reach me at bornforhealth.com. If you would like, you could email me, Dr. Mary at bornforhealth.com. I will be happy to send you the PDF of this slide presentation. So I want to thank you for taking the time today to better your health through knowledge. And if there's anything I can help you with, you can leave a comment in the section below. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're seeing this as a recording. And there will be things that I will put in the description below for the recording. So it's just stress. Well, let me tell you, it is never just stress. And after today's video, you'll probably understand that. And I'm so stressed saying that. Yes, it recognizes how you're feeling, but to keep saying it can be detrimental. And we're going to talk about that. And life is stressful. It's how we handle that stress, what we do with that stress, how we feed our body is going to affect all of the aspects of that stress and how it really does impact our body. And today's video, I hope, will help you minimize the response. So there we go. So let's talk about some of the things that define whether you're stressed. Do you feel like you have too much to do? Do you have difficulty sleeping? Do you have chronic tension in your back and neck? Do you feel tired and frustrated? And do you catch colds easily? There are some people that 2-3 times a year they catch a cold. And we have a saying, and it's you don't catch a cold, you earn the cold. And so if you earn the cold, then it's because you haven't eaten right, you haven't slept right, and you haven't done the things that help you take care of your body properly. And this really does impact your blood pressure. So let's delve into it. Stress is a natural response to the body's perception of increased demands. And it is normal and healthy, but when it occurs too frequently, the body does not have a chance to recover properly. So as we looked at the other image, the brain perceives that there is stress due to the levels of cortisol. And so it's a loop of effects. The brain in turn, which the hypothalamus and pituitary are involved inside the brain, sends signals, and they send them to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal gland, how healthy the adrenal gland is going to depend on how the body responds to that stress, whether it handles it well or if it doesn't. The adrenals also send out epinephrine, norepinephrine, and this is a response to help us either fight or flight. So a normal stress reaction is we're going along and all of a sudden we're hit with some kind of a stressor. It could be a trauma, it could be a scare of some sort, and the body reacts to it, and it it sends out all these signals, and then there's a rebound area. So in the rebound area, it's actually, you can see that it actually goes lower than the normal body responses. And you might have experienced this yourself, whereas you go, oh, and you just feel like let down. You feel depleted. You feel like maybe you need to take a nap, whatever. But that's what the natural response is in the rebound area. And that's when your body is building back up again, and finally it gets back into recovery. And recovery is the same level of what you would call what you can handle as before. But what happens in today's world is that here's normal. We get hit with a stress response. We go down into rebound, and then we hit another stress response. And each time we go into the rebound area, it's actually lower than the rebound area before. And we never seem to hit that actual recovery position where we're at what we consider normal. And that's because we see bears behind every tree. We're in the 2020 aspect of it, everywhere you look, there's fear. The TV, radio, whatever you're listening to, whether it's social media, is dealing with fear. And that's, I feel, one of the ways that they're trying to control people, make them wear masks, do the social distancing, is to put this fear. And I feel that very, very soon there's going to be a huge awareness of what is being done globally as far as this stress thing on COVID-19, now called COVID-20. That it really was never a big deal. We knew that back in April, after we had a few weeks of understanding how this virus worked. It had really nothing to, it was no more dangerous than the common cold or the common flu. In fact, more children are dying of the flu that they're not even affected by COVID under the age of 20. And the ineptitude of our government to handle this situation, because I said way back in April that President Trump was getting some really bad information, and I feel now that it's being verified that Fauci really did the worst model possible. He trusted somebody who really had no idea of what he was talking about. And all of this situation that we're in was based on that. So what happens during stress? Well, the immediate effects are that our heart beats faster and the blood pressure rises, breathing is faster. These are all things to get us ready to stand our ground or get out of town. So our muscles tense. Look at that. Our digestion stops. Our immune responses are decreased, and blood flow to the brain or the higher consciousness diminishes. And what that means is that logical thinking turns to response or survival instincts. And in that mode, we do not make very good decisions. And so it is important that this remain a temporary situation and that we understand how to move past this as quickly as we can. So we learn that in the rebound stage, we experience fatigue, muscles are weak, and low blood sugar and mental confusion. And so this continued leads to chronic fatigue and other conditions. And so let's look at what chronic stress affects. So there's chronic muscle tension, backache, neck pain, headaches, shallow breathing, and we're going to talk about different breathing techniques in this. We have eye strain. We have heart problems like high blood pressure, regular heartbeat. Some people actually have, tachycardia, or rapid heartbeat, and increased coronary inflammation. So it's hitting the vessels and causing cholesterol to come in and repair those damage that the inflammation created. And then there's more, which involves digestion. We have indigestion, acid reflux, irritable bowel, diarrhea, constipation. We have mental problems of feeling unable to cope, mental confusion. Now, if we are already experiencing these situations of emotional instability or having difficulty thinking properly, these stress situations are only going to exacerbate that. And unfortunately, that's what we've seen. The mishandling of COVID has caused a 30% rise in suicides and depression. So we really, we become emotionally more sensitive than we would be. We can't tolerate jokes or the little jabs that we used to be able to handle. And then if the stress continues, we have signs of adrenal exhaustion. We have restless sleep with disturbed dreams. We wake up frequently at night. We're tired during the day, feeling confused, forgetful, and emotionally sensitive. And in naturopathic diagnosis, we look at the pupils and if they're pulsing, which is something that you can look at if you take a little pen light to the side where your temple is and move it toward your eye as you're looking in the mirror. And you can look at your pupil. Now, you don't want to shine the light directly in the eye, but on the side, you will see that when the pupil is exposed to light, it's supposed to shrink, and it attempts to do that, but when it's in stress, it cannot retain that tension, and so it opens back up, or else it'll pulse back and forth, close, open, close, open. And then you can also look in the mirror, and your tongue should be able to lie flat, and if it's quivering, you know that you're experiencing some adrenal exhaustion. So there's some of the things that you can look into for your own diagnosing, so to speak. Feeling hyper or anxious, even jumpy, are all signs that the nerves are on edge and they've not had the time to regenerate. So it's really important that we do some of the things that we're going to talk about. One of the things we know for sure is that a lack of B vitamins will contribute to this inability to regenerate. So we have, again, this diagram where we have stimulus and the adrenal responds to it. And then we dip below the normal, and we have what sometimes is called a refractory period or recovery, just before recovery. and then we have the resting state. And you might be able to put your hands out and see that they're trembling a little bit, or shaky. Sometimes you feel shaky inside, which is often a sign of blood sugar. And one of the things you want to ask yourself is, when did I eat last and what did I eat last? And then kind of keep a record. So some of the secrets to less stress are, we're going to talk about some of these. The nutritional is a basic good nutrition. We want to take some nervine and adaptogenic herbs. Physical, we want to exercise and do some abdominal breathing. We're going to talk about that. On the psychological, we want to say plan for pleasure and have a gratitude attitude, and let go of what you cannot control and be in the present. You know, when we're anxious, we're worrying about the future. When we're depressed, we're worrying about the past. And so worry really accomplishes nothing. And what you have to do is think about what you can accomplish right now and stay in the here and now. It's important to create plans, but if those plans cause you to worry, then that's not planning, that's worrying. So we want to pick one from each of these categories. You know, can be a little step here and there, but as we move forward, that becomes a habit, and then we can pick another one. So let's look at these different areas. The first one is keeping track of what you eat. So you can do this on your phone. There's plenty of apps. There's paperwork that you can download. There's some that you can pay for. There's some that are free, but just check into a mindful eating diary that helps you keep track of what you're eating, and make it as simple as possible so that this too doesn't become a stressor. But basically, you want to make sure that you're adding lots of healthy vegetables, some fruit, some good protein in your diet. And, you know, you can use the hand technique where your full hand is the healthy carbohydrates like veggies, and then the palm of your hand is the meat, and you the thickness and width of the palm is the about what size meat you take in on a meal. And then when you make a little whole, like basically cup in your hand, that's the amount of oil that you should have, and this would be your diet. Now if you're finding that grains are the whole part of your hand, then you're not eating healthy enough. So then you want to track how you felt with the foods that you ate that day, and then you want to look at the next day. You want to say, what did I eat yesterday? How did I feel? And then each day you take stock of how the foods you ate relate to how you're able to handle the stress for that day. And maybe make some minor changes, that you bring some carrot sticks, because what you found is that you're eating snacking on donuts and coffee to try and keep you going. And those are not good, sustainable snacks. You want to make sure that you're eating foods that are going to contribute to health, not deter from it. So there's that. And then understand what simple carbohydrates are. So these are things that quickly turn into sugar in the body, and they can be like juice. You think that juice is healthy for you. I used to drink like 16 ounces of carrot juice, and I realized it was not enough fiber to slow down the blood sugar response. Even though that carrot juice is supposed to be very good for you, it is high in sugar. And whereas if I had eaten carrots, the fiber in the carrots would have slowed that sugar response down. So there's basically two things that slow sugar down, and that fat and fiber. So 2 F's. So this constant yo-yo effect of feeling down, raising up, feeling down. People say, well, just eat a candy bar, like Snickers. It has peanuts in it. No, totally not the right thing to do. So candy, donuts, sugary cereal, and even alcohol can be considered simple carbs. So it has to have fiber and fat to slow the blood sugar response down. And you can look at the glycemic index and see what the glycemic load is. And the glycemic load means that taking into consideration the whole food, the amount of fiber or fat it has in it. So food for nerves and the adrenals, we know that food grade vitamin B with C, because C helps B get utilized properly. Mineral supplement that contains magnesium and potassium. Cholesterol is very, very important. Most of the health enthusiasts I listen to and are my mentors believe that a cholesterol level between 200 and 225 is actually quite normal, and that the fact that medical doctors are trying to lower our cholesterol levels below 160 is causing a huge detriment. When we find that people have that kind of a low cholesterol, they generally have joint problems. The brain needs cholesterol to think properly, and we're seeing higher incidence of Alzheimer's and conditions that require healthy thinking. So I think that it's better to look at what your inflammatory levels are in a situation like that. So you want to see what your CRP is, your C-reactive proteins, the different things like triglycerides rather than cholesterol. So good fats like omega-3 are important because your brain needs healthy fat. Herbs that help to calm and heal, like licorice root and yucca, marshmallow, ashwagandha, and astragalus, are all adaptogenics, which means that they help us to adapt to stress. So just think of adaptogenics as those things that help us to adapt to life and are very beneficial. So taking a look at the other concerns besides feeling stressed, we'll come back to digestion because that's a whole new whole thing itself. But first of all, let's look at the mental, the feeling unable to cope, mental confusion, loss of short-term memory, difficulty concentrating, and emotionally sensitive. Now, if you have a family of 4 and they're all going through this, it can really create havoc. So essential oils are marvelous because you can be setting up in the morning, you can have like pink grapefruit diffused through the home, and it gives you a sense of calm. It helps the mood uplift. Any of the citrus will. Now we're going into fall and winter, and using citrus are wonderful during the winter months when we don't see the sun a whole lot. Now, we don't like using citrus during the summer because it makes people more photosensitive, which means that you can get sunburned quicker if you're using, especially if you're using it in a topical like a lotion. But you certainly can diffuse things like peppermint or rosemary, any of those other essential oils that are known to uplift. Lemongrass is not, or lemon balm is not really considered a citrus, even though it has that lemony flavor. It really doesn't cause any photosensitivity. Now, we know that rosemary is very helpful for the brain. Peppermint has also got some really good studies behind it. The Russians have a great study on peppermint where they diffused it in a school classroom, and 2 classrooms were taking the same test, and the children had just about the same ability, and there was a really big increase in the attention span where the peppermint had been diffused. So that's a really good study. So flower essences and essential oils. I love distress remedy. I think almost half of my videos talk about distress remedy because it really helps you to get centered, to be able to think more clearly, to be able to respond appropriately during a stressful situation. It helps with that recovery time, really get through that quickly. It helps to get you in the core where your breathing can be more involved in the diaphragm rather than up here in the upper chest area. You're involving the diaphragm to bellow the lungs and getting deeper breaths. So it can be added to a roll-on with aloe vera or some kind of a massage oil. I love the combination of lavender distress in aloe vera. It can be used for so many different things. It calms you. Lavender's a great tissue healer. So if you have a wound or something like that, you can just roll it on and it will help. Even it helps with bruises. And if you don't like lavender, you can use Roman chamomile. Now, blue chamomile is a bit stronger, so Roman chamomile is recommended, especially for children, and it's antimicrobial. So it really, both of these are very, very good as far as antimicrobials, and you can rub it on your hands, and it's so much better than some kind of an antibacterial. So Stress J is a nervine formula that has chamomile and passion flower and hops in it. And it's very, very beneficial for settling the nerves. You can use it along with the vitamins that we talked about. And it reduces in intestinal inflammation because it has things like fennel, marshmallow, and chamomile. And these are all herbs that are noted to support better digestion. And what about sleep? Oh my goodness. I think that that is one of the worst complaints that people deal with is not enough sleep, or they're not having good solid sleep or sleep that helps to repair. You have to have a cycle of 90 minutes of solid sleep, and that helps the brain to shrink and detoxify. So every 90 minutes, the brain goes through this cycle of detoxification. And if you have 3 cycles during a night, then you're going to wake up very refreshed. And as soon as your feet hit the floor, you're ready to go. So adaptogenic and nervine tonics help with this feeling of burnout and nervous exhaustion. And I love this nervous fatigue formula. It comes basically in 2 strength, and I'll leave a link in the description below for this formula. But if you're taking the 100 capsule, which is basically a milder version of it, you might start with 2 at night, and if that doesn't do it, then you add do 2 in the morning, 2 at night the next day. And if that doesn't do it, you can do 2, 3 times a day. You actually can go to 9 a day. But then if you feel like that's what you need to stay at, it would be better for you to take the concentrated version, which only has 30 capsules in it. But each one of these capsules is like 6 of the 100 size. So it really, you can work it the way you want to. It's not habit forming. There's nothing narcotic about it, but it really does assist the adrenal glands. Whereas most people, what they're going to do is they're going to take coffee in the morning to wake them up, and then they need something like a downer at night. And, and this is no way. You're kind of like beating a dead horse. So let's talk about adrenal exhaustion. Now, adrenal exhaustion is like PTSD. If I have another link on a class that I did recently on PTSD and a lot of helpful hints in that. And if you want to watch the video on that, I'll leave a link in the description below, and all you'll have to do is click on that link and view that video. So when you're feeling, now PTSD can be mild to severe, okay? And years ago it was called battle fatigue, and then it went into a bunch of different things, but they all mean the same thing, and it's post-traumatic stress syndrome. And feeling more on guard or unsafe, triggers, your trauma triggers become more intense or more often, not doing things that are still considered safe, like simple little things. Maybe you won't go in a shed, or maybe you won't go in an elevator, or just things that would be normal procedures you find difficult. Some people that are homebound, they can't leave the house, or it can be the type of thing where you have to lock, unlock, lock and unlock, and lock the door several times before you realize that it's been locked. Shutting lights on and off, on and off. So there's a lot of different manifestations of this, and varying degrees of it. But the thing that we know for sure is we need help with the adrenals. Now, adrenal support actually has raw adrenal gland in it, from New Zealand animals. I forget what they are, but it helps, it gives our adrenals the tools it needs to recognize that it needs to build these cells. Adrenal support is not something you stay on for long periods of time. And generally speaking, since the adrenal and thyroid are related, in Chinese medicine that's talked about often, that they're like sibling rivalries. And so you need to feed them both. And I feel that along with adrenal support, you should be doing equal amounts of thyroid support. A lot of our emotions come from our thyroid, and feeding it will help to calm that over response of our emotions. So it helps with fatigue and burnout, sleep disturbances, chronic inflammation and stress. And like I said, most of my clients are on it for a couple months, and then they move to one of the herbal formulas that continue building. But those you can be on for life. They're just food, basically, herbal food. But this helps move protein through the system and regulates insulin. So we know that the pancreas is also involved in this, and insulin production, and hyper and hypoglycemia are affected by this. So now any of these formulas will only work if a person, it's a multifaceted situation. And you need to pay attention to why you're stressed. Look at the foods you eat, people in your life. What are you focusing on? There's so many different things. So deep breathing is really, really important. We have a formula called Breathe Deep, which I really love. And it helps if you have that crackling or noise when you're breathing. Breathe Deep is really, really helpful for that because it breaks up that congestion. Lemon also is really, really good. So you want to breathe from the diaphragm. Walking is important. Breathing while you're walking. Don't wear a mask while you're walking because it inhibits the ability for your body to pull in oxygen and let out carbon dioxide, which is the whole point of breathing. So attitude adjustment, be mindful of what you are watching and listening to. If you watch the news all day, and especially like CNN, or you get upset, you need to shut that off. You need to go into, downtime, whatever. Breathe in some essential oils, have a diffuser going to clear your mind, but be aware of your mood because that can mean the difference between handling stress and not. So calming yourself and saying, I'm stressed, it's like, I can handle this. It's okay. And might I add in this that having a spiritual connection helps most people deal with stress so much more, is to know that you're not alone in this. And that's not to say we're all in this together, because I hate that saying. It truly is the worst saying. We're not all in this at the same thing. There are varying degrees of how people are handling this, and we're not all in this together. There are a lot of people that are making a lot of money on this situation that fear mongering has created. So notice where your feet are, make sure they are flat on the floor, feel the ground beneath you. There are actually websites and information that you can go to about feeling grounded, walking on the grass, that type of thing. However, we're heading toward winter and we'd have to shovel the snow around us to walk on the grass. So become aware of your body, focus on your feelings, and then you start out and you recognize the feelings. You don't want to pass through that. You want to recognize, I'm feeling stressed. What is it that is making me feel stressed? Why do I experience this? What happened that makes me feel this way? Just go through it. Is it the food you ate? Is it somebody that you're dealing with? And then try to get yourself into some presence and feeling calm, and then do some square breathing, which is breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, holding it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhaling it 1, 2, 3, 4, holding it 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's called square breathing. And you're not going to breathe from here. You're going to place your hands on under your rib cage. That's where your diaphragm is. And you're going to start feeling the stomach bellow in and out as you breathe. And that's going to help calm you. So the other thing is plan for pleasure. People put in their calendar all the things they have to do, and they create these lists and that, but you really need to set aside some time where you can recuperate. So you make a list of 10 things that bring you physical and emotional pleasure. So plan time to do at least one of these things every day. I would say at least 3 or 4 things during the day. And they cannot be sugary food or alcohol or drugs or things that are addictive like games and that. They can include massage, bubble baths with essential oils, some pleasant music, dancing, even if it's with yourself, petting your pet, doing a craft, watching a fun movie, laughing, singing. These are all things that help to lift our spirit. And of course, along with that, you can add the essential oils, just make it a very pleasant attitude. We're coming upon Thanksgiving. Well, I don't think that we should be thankful just one day out of every year. So every single night, you want to think of 5 things or people that you're grateful for. And you just enumerate. And they can be things like, it was a beautiful sunny day. I noticed the breeze flowing through the trees, and aren't they magnificent this time of the year? I saw orange and yellow and all these gorgeous colors, and how beautiful the roses are this time of year. Just all noticing all these things. And what you'll notice is that by having to enumerate different 5 things every single night, you're going to be looking during the day for things that you can enumerate during the night. So this is having a gratitude attitude, being grateful for all the things that you have and the blessings that you experience throughout the day, even if it's a roof over your head, a bed to sleep in, enough food to eat, some good water to drink. But you notice that you're experiencing good in your life, and that it isn't all about task-driven things. So put a little heart, put a heart on your calendar, and that heart will remind you to be grateful, to find someone or something that you're very grateful for in your life. So the other thing is learning what is and what isn't in our control. Now, there's very few things that we actually have control over. People like to think that they have control over all these other things, but you really don't. And that's understanding personal boundaries. So understand what it is that you can or can't do anything about, and what you put in your head or what you think is under your control. You can change your thoughts. There's wonderful books about it, and there's ways to do it, to move through their thought. Because you know what? Dr. Daniel Amen says that 95% of what's in our brain is wrong. It's not correct. So we are not truthful thinkers. So, if you don't have a good prefrontal cortex by using omega-3, all that stuff kind of just flows out of your mouth, and did I really say that? So what we do with our body and how we treat it. So eating the right foods, doing the right exercises, doing what's good for us rather than not good for us. It's really important. And then having a spiritual connection, feeding our soul. Some people it's reading the Bible, other people it's just being prayerful, other people it's meditating. Whatever it is that feeds your soul, that's what you have to do. So anything else is not in control. We can't control what other people think about us. We can't control how they respond to us. We don't control any of that. What we control is how we think and how we act and how we feel through spiritual connection. So finally. We want to be in the present, not in the past, not in the future, here and now. Breathe and look at the beauty all around you. What I can be grateful for. Choose to be happy. And think, if you're stuck, just try to think of, what can I do right now? What is important for me to make the next step? You don't have to be overwhelmed by the project. Just, what can I do? Maybe it's just moving something. Maybe it's putting something in a box. Whatever it is, take a step, and that will make you feel like you've accomplished something. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention. I'll hang in there for questions or comments, but basically the class is done, and I hope that you find joy in your life every single day. And I'm grateful for all of you for attending.